Our next one is titled, Am I Too Sensitive or Ungrateful? I usually don't post often on here as I don't have many friends in real life. I usually post often on here as I don't have many friends in real life that are married and my age, 22, but this post is based on an argument that I just had with my spouse the other day that I'm still thinking about and I just wanted to vent. Just a small background, I'm a super empathetic person and my husband is the complete opposite. He doesn't like to talk about feelings, etc. And this has caused problems in the past between me and him. During dinner the other night, I was doing multiple things at once, which included making dinner, feeding my year-old, and dishes. So I asked my husband to put bread in the already hot oven. He got an attitude saying that the pans were all dirty, so I had nothing to put the bread in. So I suggested, because I was busy feeding my daughter, to just put them in the oven on the rack, just to warm up. I grew up doing this. He responded with, or just not be lazy and wash the pans, which hurt my feelings because I do most of the household chores while he works until 6. Mind you, I work too during the day. So I said, ouch, that hurt my feelings when you said that, because I'm learning how to express my emotions better. Because he would say that I don't express my feelings and I hold it in. Well, basically, he said that I was too sensitive and it wasn't a big deal and got mad at me for being upset about it. He ended up apologizing after, but I'm slightly upset over the argument still. Silly, I know. I guess I'm trying to express my emotions better for him, but it's really hard to when he doesn't do the same. He gets annoyed easily, or whenever I try to initiate romance or touch or any love language, he just isn't into it sometimes. Even with household work, nothing really gets done unless I ask him to, which sometimes I have no problem with, but when the trash is full for a day and he's home, I bring it up and he also says, you see the trash full as well. It bugs me, especially on his day off, but I try to brush it off so I don't make it seem like I'm nagging. And I have expressed my concern, but then he gets upset and says that he's trying to improve himself, but I don't see it. And I focus on the bad stuff more than the good. And it makes me feel like a bad wife and ungrateful because he is an amazing person. But it's so hard to keep up with myself, a baby, and stuff around the house. And I don't feel like I'm getting my emotional needs met at some times. I feel really bad for feeling this way and have talked to him about it. I love him so much, but feel ashamed for being annoyed or let down, if that makes sense. Has anyone felt this way? Am I being super ungrateful because I know there are people in a lot worse condition and I feel naggy? Thank you for listening, and I'm sorry it was a long post. This is a really interesting case because honestly, I think it's just pretty typical that every relationship goes through this type of phase. Now, I want to highlight, she says my age is 22. So at age 22, I was still with my husband at that time, but I would say that I was a much less mature person and the amount that I was able to let go was pretty much 0. That means that I treated every single fight as the hill that I needed to die on. And honestly, this is still something that I'm struggling with today. Sometimes I really get into this habit of like, okay, now I care about this. I really need to talk about it. And he's also like, he doesn't want to talk about it. He has an easier time just moving on if we don't discuss and so on. So we clash on that level. Which is to say, when she says, I'm a super empathetic person, my husband is the opposite. He doesn't like to talk about feelings and so on. I can 100% relate. I'd say that sounds like a pretty standard man, just a typical man. Most men do not have the same urge or desire or need to talk their feelings out the way that women do. But what I really want to highlight with that story is this little event here that upset her enough that she came up here to write about it. That's such a minor comment. It's one of those like drive-by things that you say when you're frustrated, which again is not okay. Like, it's not nice when people snap at you because they're frustrated, but there is a point where you can say, okay, that was a shitty comment, and then you can move on with your life. And the fact that he apologized afterwards, but she's still upset about it, says to me that she really took this to heart and she's still in that phase, which I would argue that every woman goes through. She's in that phase in your early 20s where every fight is like the end of the world and you just can't move on from it. And that's a sad phase to be in, but honestly, the fact that she's a little bit aware of it is a good sign. I don't think that she's ungrateful. I do think she's a little bit sensitive. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think a lot of people are sensitive to this extent. And you can say, like, yes, of course, if I get snapped at, I'm going to be annoyed too. It's just one of those situations where you're like, okay, you reacted in a particular way, but honestly, it was a minor argument in the great scheme of things. If he's calling you lazy every day, then okay, then that would be a problem. Then I would really try to talk about that and ask him exactly why he feels that way and what it is around the house that he's so annoyed by and why he isn't helping as much and how could we split up chores and so on and so forth. You can go way into it. But if it's just this one comment where, you know, he was pissed off at being in the kitchen and seeing things really messy, having a lot of dishes, he's trying to do stuff in the kitchen and he can't manage, and so he just snaps like that, then I would probably say it's okay to just let it go. All that said, I think that so long as you're a little bit aware of it and so long as you are both kind of working on it and trying to get somewhere together, then honestly, most of the stuff that you are experiencing here will get better with time. I think that most relationships are a lot more contentious early on as you are learning how to negotiate with each other, how to have fights, how to argue, how to move forward. And you both, I guess, develop a better toolkit and a better set of techniques that you can use to manage those types of conflicts with time. And that takes a long, long time. For a lot of people, that is a lifetime's worth of effort. Like I said, for us as well, it is too. And so when she says here, she's expressed her concerns, but then he gets upset and says that he is trying to improve himself and she doesn't see it and she focuses on the bad stuff more than the good. That's like a perfect sign of exactly that, where both parties are like, hey, we're trying to move closer together, but I feel like you're not you're not seeing what I'm doing, and she feels like she's not seeing what he's doing, and so on and so forth. And he's not seeing what she's doing, and so on. Then it just gets, it's just a source of conflict. I think that it's really not, this is the part that I don't quite understand. She says that she's ungrateful towards him. He hasn't done anything here that she needs to necessarily be grateful for. I wouldn't just be grateful. I mean, okay, I guess gratitude in general is good. You can say, I should be grateful just that I'm in a relationship and we're together and everything is great. Yeah, fine, fair enough. But if you feel like you are nagging, chances are you're probably nagging. And if you are so stuck on small disagreements that you can't move on from them, then probably just trying to process your emotions and finding a way where you can really let go of things is going to make a really big difference for you. I really say this as someone who went through this very intense phase when I was in my early 20s. Thankfully now I'm in my late 20s. It's not so intense anymore when it comes to arguing, but I still very much feel it there and feel the urge there. And I think that that's just unfortunately quite natural. Now, everyone else just takes it so much more seriously. So the first comment is, in my household, if you see something needs to be done, you do it. If my husband needs a pan, he cleans it. Honestly, it sounds like he wants a mummy, not a partner. Now, I kind of don't agree with this. So I am more likely to be snappy if the kitchen is a mess than otherwise. And yes, I could clean up the kitchen more often. This is true. But also the fact that the kitchen is a mess is in and of itself an annoying fact. And it's completely fine to just be annoyed by that. Yes, in general, when it comes to household chores, it works a lot better. I've been told, we're still working on this. It works a lot better if you manage to find a good way to split chores so you feel like there is some kind of equal distribution. I say equal, but equal in whatever way equal works for you, I guess, so that it's somehow fair. And every partner is doing things that are contributing to the household, and then suddenly you feel a lot better about it, and so on and so forth. All of this is true, but yeah, no, I actually don't think that it sounds like he wants a mother and not a partner. I think he just had this one knee-jerk response. That was not a good response and not a very nice one, but he apologized for it and you should be able to move on from it. This person says, from what you've shared, he sounds like the one who's ungrateful. I really don't like how he throws things back at you. Which is a terrible habit that all people get into when they're angry. Yes, it's not a nice thing. And this one says, he really doesn't sound like an amazing person. You say you should be grateful because he could be worse. Like, we could all be with abusive a-holes, but that doesn't mean that we should tolerate rudeness, laziness, and a lack of communication. I think you guys need counseling to help him learn how to communicate better and accept your love language and recognize his own. Sometimes I think people give advice where they're like, this is totally the solution. And the way that I read it is like, this is what would actually ruin your marriage. I don't think that counseling to help him learn how to communicate better will ever work. this is doomed to fail from the very beginning. If you're really setting yourself up, if you just go into a marriage counseling session and what you're like is, he's wrong, he needs to learn how to communicate better according to my requirements and needs, then I'm pretty sure that's not going to work out like at all. So no, I would probably not do that. And then here, that's the piece of advice that people will have. She says, I can't even imagine, yikes about the lazy comment. I can't even imagine my husband saying that to me, as he would have just washed the pan. Have you tried assigned chores, split them 50-50 so you don't have to ask for things to be done? For example, my husband is actually always the dishwasher. I always do the laundry. If something comes up, we just let the other one know or ask for help. But 99% of the time, we both just do our stuff, and it cuts out all the chores arguments. And then OP replies, that's so cool that you have a system. I think we did try doing the 50-50 thing, but it lasted a week. Now, that is the point at which we are at, where we try multiple times and then it doesn't last so long. But honestly, I think every married couple just needs to find their method and their way of dealing with chores, and tries to find a way of dealing with that consciously, intentionally, like they actually sit down and talk about it and agree on a plan and then try to execute it. And then when things don't work out, they come back together and say, okay, this didn't work out, I didn't work out, and so on and so forth. So if you treat it as though you are actually in this together and you need to come up with a plan to tackle problems together, then things change. This level of argument and conflict in a relationship is completely natural. It is completely normal. It does not need to be the end of the world. You do not need marriage counseling. You just need to have enough openness and calm in your life, and to invest enough time in each other and with each other that you can work through these conflicts and learn from them together. There is a certain amount of conflict that you have to go through as a married couple in order to learn to negotiate with each other and to be able to make your relationship better over the long run. Like, you're always going to be different people. You're always going to be annoyed sometimes, and sometimes that just results in these types of arguments, and that's okay.